guys, Tom from Classic Plastik here. Have you ever had the dilemma where you go to a restaurant, maybe Red Robin, TGI Fridays, and you have a special plate that is just yours and you enjoy a lot, but then a new item comes on the menu and you think to yourself, hey, why not try it this time? Can't be that bad. Well, I ran into one of those dilemmas, not with food, but with my 3DS. And I ran into it twice. It paid off once, but ran into it twice. Here it goes. I got a 3DS for Christmas. I love it, but I was running into the issue where the battery was only lasting me about 4.5 to 5 hours. And you would think to yourself, oh, that's a lot of time, but when you sink your teeth into some Pokemon or Metal Slug or Mario, it really isn't enough. So I went out, and this was the first dilemma I had. I went out and I bought the Nyko extended battery. Gave me about 12 hours of gameplay, 8 with the 3D option on, but here was the exchange. I wasn't gonna have a sleek all red 3DS anymore. I was gonna have a red 3DS with a pouch sticking out from the bottom. So I thought to myself, it's only 15 bucks, I'm going for it. So unscrewed it, took out the battery, placed this one, and it paid off. I loved it, every single second of it. I didn't have to charge my 3DS every single day. I didn't have to worry about how much battery life I had. It was awesome. And then the second dilemma happened. After my battery was installed, I heard about the 3DS Circle Pad Pro. Well, they said that a lot of video games are going to come out that were compatible with it, and actually I even heard statements that if you didn't have the Circle Pad Pro, your 3DS would become obsolete to the new video games that came out. With outrageous claims like that, I went out and bought a Nintendo 3DS Circle Pad, but not after waiting 6 months, because for some reason Nintendo and 3DS had a shortage of these circle pads. So you saw them online going for $40, $60. You even saw people trying to sell them from Japan, from Europe, but I refused to pay twice what it retails for. And I just waited the 6 months, and I'm glad I did, because I have mixed feelings about this piece of hardware. It costs $20 US. When you open it up, you have, of course, your hardware in there, and then you have an owner's manual for your Circle Pad Pro. When you take it out, oh, and it also includes this little tether right here. But you take out the Circle Pad Pro, and I've played with it already, so it's already assembled, if you can call it that. But it brings a AAA battery. It goes in here, you screw it in, and you're ready to go. But just a quick review of the Circle Pad. You have your second Circle Pad. You have your left trigger, right trigger, and another right trigger. From the games that I played, this served as the left trigger, of course, and this did not work as you would think it would. This one worked as the right trigger. So the smaller button of the two right buttons is now the right trigger. Okay, I'm fine with that. Now, upon closer inspection, I realized that this is a piece of junk, in my opinion. It's poorly designed. It paralyzes the 3DS from gameplay to actual the longevity of the battery of the 3DS. This does not have a USB port or any type of port that would connect to your 3DS and kind of piggyback off your battery. No, they went the more sophisticated and energy consuming route. They did Wi-Fi. So as soon as you put this in your 3DS Circle Pad, your Wi-Fi is running and your battery that used to be 10 to 12 hours is now cut to about 4 to 3.5 hours. Not that bad if you're gonna get better handling on your video games and a more comprehensive experience from it. Well, I loaded up Kid Icarus, which is a terrible, terrible game because of its controls. The video game itself is awesome, but the controls just completely cripple the video game. I don't even think I'm gonna beat it. I mean, I bought it on release date, and I did not play it because they said, oh, it's a lot better with the Circle Pad, and just the way you played it without the Circle Pad was a little weird. So I was really excited when I got the Circle Pad. I popped this in, and it still wasn't any better than me playing with the stylus and the left analog stick. So that was a really bad game to begin my experience with. So I went into my library and I grabbed, of course, Resident Evil Revelations. You can't go wrong with this game. It's badass. But I popped it in, and well, I actually took this game out, and then I realized that there is a big brick right here, the receiver for the 3DS and the Circle Pad to communicate, that is just completely blocking your cartridge port. I mean, this is just terrible design. I mean, I have to pop this off every single time I want to play a new video game. And why is it so troubling? Well, let's take a look. The Circle Pad Pro has rubber feet all around it, and constant friction of rubber on any surface starts wearing out, so you get less rubber and the console is less snug in here. So that's why they included the tether, just in case your console falls out of it. But on top of that, it starts leaving like these little spots on your 3DS. I'm not sure you can see it, but it starts leaving these spots from the friction of the rubber feet on the glossy plastic, and it starts giving it that beat up look for the 3DS, not for the Circle Pad. And that really bothers me because I'm kind of a perfectionist. I don't like scratches on my screen. I don't like scuffs on my video games. I mean, look at this. This is my sister's 3DS. She beat it up, but she was kind enough to put a Nintendog skin on it. So I am grateful for that, but look at the bottom. Completely sweat off the serial numbers, completely ruined this DS. I still play it because it's very useful, but you kind of catch my drift. You just paid $150 or $200 for your DS. You want it taken care of. And this Circle Pad does not do that. On top of that, like I said, it drains your battery faster. You can't get your games in there. Oh, and here's a kicker. If you ever need your stylus, which is, where the hell is it? In the back? You can't get it either. Why? Because that big brick is just locking it in there. Well, this is a huge brick attached to the 3DS, and I still kept it on there. Well, I played Resident Evil Revelations, and it was a little better just because the controls were a little more comprehensive, but it wasn't anything that made me say, oh, you know what, that's probably the best $20 I've ever spent in my life. Actually, it made me say that's probably one of the worst $20 I ever spent in my life, and I'm glad I didn't pay $60 for it. I beat Resident Evil Revelations 3 times without the Circle Pad, and I loved it every single second. They did a great job with one analog stick, and if the second analog stick was such an issue, they should have included it right from the beginning. So what's the verdict on the 3DS Circle Pad? Well, with the Nyko extended battery, it made the other peripherals such as the 3DS stand and the 3DS cradle obsolete because it stuck out too much. But that's the same dilemma I'm running into with the Circle Pad. The only thing is, I really don't feel the Circle Pad is worth the sacrifice. On top of that, look how massive it makes the 3DS. Aesthetically, that is not pleasing. It dwarfs the original DS. And on top of that, if you bought a case for your 3DS, well, don't plan on using it because that tacks on another 2 inches to your 3DS. So instead of your 3DS becoming obsolete without this, your 3DS is becoming obsolete with it. It's not worth it in my opinion. If I could go back, I'd probably still buy it just to say I have it, but as far as the library goes, I don't feel that any of the video games are really better with the second analog stick. Even Kid Icarus, I mean, that game is just still terrible. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Classic Plastik, and I do have a special giveaway for those of you who drive around a lot. If you spot the Klassic Plastik vehicle, and you'll know it's the Klassic Plastik vehicle because it'll say it on it, but if you spot it and you snag a picture of it, email it to me, you get a very special prize. I can't tell you what it is till you win it. So keep an eye out for the Klassic Plastik car. Thanks a lot, guys.